How's it going?
Hey Matt, all good? Yeah, great start to the
Awesome.
week, nice and early. So yeah, just preparing to get back to the depths of England and whatnot.
Good stuff. Where are you right now?
I've just moved to Mexico City, so I had a travel day yesterday, and then yeah, got up and got 3 days here, and then back to the UK for a little bit, and then
Mm.
we'll see where life takes me after that.
Yeah, the beautiful life of being able to work remotely and travel, which is yeah. I know it comes with challenges. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, but you definitely get a lot more sunshine than you do being in the UK by living this lifestyle. And certainly a lot more
That's for
freedom, right?
sure. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Although it's been actually a little bit worse weather in Guadalajara recently, so it's sort of conditioning me for a return to the UK, I believe. So
Well, it hasn't been too bad here. We A couple of weeks ago, like we were struggling to get out on the track. We actually got kicked off the track because there was snow on it, and we're like, "What is this? What has this world come to?" Like we do obstacle course racing in very harsh conditions, and you've got some person at a centre saying, "Yeah, you can't be on the track." It was like, "Oh, okay." So we've kind of had the cold and the snow, and it's quite warm actually the past couple of days. A little bit of rain, but I'm at the track now, about to hit a threshold session. Mitch is here already. He's going to start getting warmed up in a few moments, and then we'll record this
nice.
episode. Then I'll do my session. So it's all good. It won't be too bad when you get back here. But yeah.
Still be a transition, that's for sure. Used to double digits all the time.
Mm. Well, by like May time, because you're coming back to the UK after further travels, aren't you, to come and do a Spartan race in May as well?
Yep. Yeah. So the last time that did it, it was pretty good weather. So
Mm.
yeah, it should be good.
Yeah, it's an interesting one with Henley on Thames. Yeah, it typically is really nice weather, and it's May, so it's like the first time all the people have come from wherever they've come from. People literally come from all over the world. We had some of the guys come over from the States a couple of years ago, um, and the sun seems to always be shining in some way, which is nice because it's like you have all these people gathering from all over. Then you got the nice weather, and it's the first time that people have really been outside and part of the events. So yeah, it's typically a really really good atmosphere to be part of, but it doesn't make the
Yeah.
racing any more easier. I remember that race a couple of years ago when you come over and. Yeah, there was a lot of broken athletes coming across the finish line, but yeah, it was all good.
I'm not going to say any names, myself included. Cramping up
This
on the
is the thing,
cargo
isn't
net
it?
right at the end.
Yeah, well, this is it. It's always a learning experience, and yeah, just when you think you got something perfectly tied down, there'll be something else that comes out the woodwork and surprises you. But I think that's why we work so diligently to mitigate as many things going wrong as possible, and that's what training really is about. To be honest, isn't it? It's training. It's the preparation, and the more prepared we are, the better the outcome. But it doesn't mean that it's perfect. I think this comes on to yeah, really being flexible and adaptable to change and being able to react on the fly. I think that's really really good. A common one we hear is people losing nutrition, like stuff falling out their pockets. It even happened to me. Like I got like really secure pockets and zips to carry my nutrition in West Virginia. I come out the swim, and my protocol is to like on because this is the third race. I go for my soft flask, which had all my like carbs and collagen and everything else in there. And I go to grab it, and I realised the lid weren't on it. I was like, "Great, I'm 3K into a beast, and I've lost the majority of my nutrition." And the interesting thing was, I just remained calm. I was like, "All right, so be it. It is what it is." And I just kind of like moved past it really quickly. And it was funny what happened when I turned a couple of corners. Within like 400 meters, I found the gel on the floor, and I was just like, "Yes!" There's two ways you can look at it. You could be like, "You know what? All right, this is not gonna be good for the back end of the race." But it's like, okay, well, I just remain composed. I do what I have to do. I've got some other nutrition, and then I happen to find some more. So it's kind of a good example of operating on the fly and being flexible and adaptable when stuff doesn't always work out. We're always learning and
Yeah,
growing, aren't we?
yeah, exactly. It's never going to be perfect. And like as you talked about that, I was thinking I had this long training run. It was like a 25-30 kilometer thing a while back, and out of nowhere, like I went to reach for a gel, and it just exploded in my pocket. But it was like it wasn't the best quality either because I'd been like traveling to some place, and that was like the best that they had. So it was just like this goop that was like sticking to my leg, and I was just like, and it was warm at the time as well, so it literally hardened up straight away. So I was running. I was like, this is going to play on my mind if I don't sort it out. So
Mm.
yeah, I tapped into my water supply just so I could rinse it off and then carry on. Continue the run. Obviously, 8 hours an energy gel short, but it's not the end of the world. And again, it's training. Like things, this is why we do training in case things don't go right. So yeah, potentially if I was to use that energy gel again, then I'd make sure it's in bubble wrap or something. So yeah, there's always
Mm.
something to learn from it, or the
This
way
is
that we
it.
position things and whatnot as well.
This is it, and that happened to be on a training run. And this is something we suggest our guys do, especially as we get closer to races. It's like you start wearing your race kit, you start trialing your nutrition and how you carry it, how it's packaged, what dosages you have certain things. 'Cause it's like if that affects your gut in some way, or you lose some nutrition, like what have you got as a backup, a secondary option, whatever. Um, so yeah, it's all part of it, and ironing out all these kinks before it comes down to it. Um, yeah, but nothing's ever perfect. There'll always be something else that comes out and challenges you. Mitch, a few years ago when he done the World Championships in Abu Dhabi, he had a nutrition belt of all his nutrition, and a few k into the race, he went under the barbed wire and snagged his nutrition belt on the barbed wire, and he's like running along, and he's like, "All my nutrition's empty." So being 4 or 5k into a beast in the desert, it's not ideal. But what do you do about it? Yeah, and I think the beautiful thing with Spartan as well, like many endurance races, there's always aid stations where you can get a little bit of water, sometimes some snacks and things like that. So it's not the end of the world, but yeah, again, it doesn't need to be perfect as long as you're fueling yourself. I mean, some of the nutrition, I don't even know if I want to call it nutrition, that Spartan has is an absolute joke. Um, yeah, yeah. I wouldn't touch it personally. I don't touch it. If I do, I quickly spit it out. Um, but yeah, so really, really key to be all over this sort of thing. Um, all good. Well, let's dive in. So today's episode is going to be about training and why more training isn't actually better, and how optimization beats the effort that we're putting in. Okay? And really, this is stemming from how most athletes are either undertraining in certain areas, or they're overdoing it with doing the wrong things or too much of a specific thing. The big thing I frequently hear and see when I speak to a lot of people during the race review audits that we offer each month, that are free, by the way, is too much strength training. Yeah, and OCR is not a strength sport. There's aspects of strength. Yeah, there might be some heavy lifts, but they're very short in duration. So predominantly what we're going to be wanting to work out is how much strength training are we want to be doing, what frequency, how long the exercises are, what are your distance races, blah, 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 blah. Lots and lots of different variables. Okay, but we're going to break down why doing more doesn't yield better results. It just accumulates fatigue, often resulting in some form of niggle or injury, and why like really optimizing all of the different energy systems, all the different components of training is the key to long-term success, health, and longevity. Um, yeah, so it's not just about how you're physically performing; it's going to be about how you're feeling day to day in terms of energy, how you're looking, yeah, and how primed you feel mentally and physically each day. So we're really going to look at that and have some discussion around that today. Um, where do you think the best place to start is with this, Matt? Like, what kind of springs to mind for you in what we hear and see, not only with others, but also within ourselves? Like, we can talk from personal experience and mistakes as well as what we've witnessed in others too.
Yeah, I think like a good place would be like people to review what training they're doing right now. So, and then they can like listen in and see kind of where they're potentially overdoing it or maybe underdoing it as well, or potentially what kind of training they are doing. So that could be a good place, like just give an idea of you know appropriate amounts, but not to the point where it becomes too overloaded, if that makes sense. Because yeah, I mean it's quite a big topic in its own right. So yeah, that would be a good place, I reckon.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Something I personally do, um, and I frequently do it with people I speak to as well, is really reviewing the different components of the training. So something, as an example, I look at is what is the time spent within a particular zone, and then that particular zone ultimately relates to a particular energy system. But even with that, there's variables, and I was explaining this on one of the group calls last week. When you look at like zonal training, it's very black and white. It's kind of like you're in zone 2 or you're in zone 3, you're in zone 3 or you're in zone 4. But the body doesn't operate like that from a physiological standpoint. Yeah, it actually works in like percentages, and the higher the heart rate, the higher percentage of glycogen you're going to be burning. But ultimately, what we want to do is we want to train the body so that actually we burn a higher percentage of fat at higher intensities, at higher heart rates, which minimizes the amount of carbohydrates we burn during exercise. And the reason why is because we only have a limited capacity for carbohydrates in the body. So if we burn through them because we've got lousy foundations, i.e., our metabolism, it doesn't matter what we do with our nutrition. Well, it does really, but you can have faulty foundations and brilliant nutrition, but it's not really healthy. So what we want to do is make sure that we're metabolically healthy and our system is operating in the best possible way, then eating the best quality performance nutrition on top of that, and eating healthy day to day at the same time. What was the last thing you heard, Matt?
Basically, it doesn't matter like we're within carbohydrates. So we've all got limited amounts of carbohydrates, and yeah,
Sure.
utilization. And if we've got poor metabolism, then that's going to affect us.
Okay. So basically, what I'm saying is, if we've got faulty foundations because we've got a low quality metabolism, meaning the ability to metabolize food and burn fat as a primary energy source, then basically what's going to happen is we're going to burn through our limited energy, which would be glycogen, which is stored in the muscles, liver quicker. Okay, so we want to train the body's ability through zonal training and good quality nutrition and good rest, recovery, sleep, to make sure that the foundations are steadfast, and then everything built upon that is also rock solid as well. Why? Because it's the healthiest thing to do. Why? Because that's the ultimate goal. Yeah, we want to be as healthy, as energized for as long as possible, as well as being able-bodied, so that we can do all the things that we want to do and be there for our kids and grandkids, etc. The sport offers all of that because of how dynamic it is, but we want to make sure that we're doing it properly. If we're not doing it properly, I mean, the amount of people we've spoken to across the years, in particular Americans, pre-diabetic, type 2 diabetic, why? Excess amount of carbohydrates, very simple sugars that come through nutritional choices. I'll give you an example of the average gym goer, and I witness this a lot when I train in the gym. Most people don't have their desired body composition because of the way they train. it's often far too intense. But then when they go home, because the intensity of the training is so high, and they try and do it for a sustained period of time, then the body is craving more carbohydrates or simple carbohydrates. So then that's what they do. They replenish them. And then they repeat this day in, day out, week in, week out, and don't really gain any ground. Why? Because that high intensity training on top of their metabolism is burning the carbohydrates they've consumed and never tapping into their body fat, their stored energy in the most efficient way. And that's because of the way that they train, the way that they live, the way that they eat. So it's almost like you're showing up, you're using your energy, but then you're replenishing that energy. So that can be something that can really stall fat loss. And really, if you are bothered about your health, you want to have a very low body fat percentage. Not very low, I don't mean very low. I mean like you want to have a lower body fat percentage. It wants to be in a healthy range. You don't necessarily need to see veins popping. Okay, but that's really, really important. And then when we relate this to OCR, power to weight ratio, yeah, the reason a lot of racers can't get across obstacles, they're too heavy, regardless of whether that's body fat or muscle mass. Yeah, what we want to do is we want to drive strength up with the correct dose of training, and we want to drive body fat down to healthy ranges so that we have this optimized weight to ratio. So there's so many reasons why to work correctly on the zonal training, but it's understanding the more we train these systems in the body with the correct inputs, meaning correct dose of training, adequate amount of sleep, correct nutrition in the right ratios at the right timings, minimizing the bad stuff, that's going to create change within the body, which makes things a lot easier for us. And when we do that, we start to see better results. Um, Anything to add on that, Matt?
No, I think you've pretty much covered most of the key points there within that particular topic of discussion. So, yeah, I think moving on to sort of like the difference between the effort and the effectiveness could be a great shout.
Mm, yeah, for sure. I think the thing I want to mention on this, and it kind of comes onto the example that I used, and this isn't just for general gym goers. I mean, this is people that have structured training and are gearing towards set goals or races. Um, you can put a lot of effort in, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be effective. It's the stress rest balance. So if we use an example of we wanted to peak in time for competition, we want to really optimize our power to weight ratio. So we're looking to strip back a little bit more body fat. If we are training very, very high intensity, but then we're eating a lot of carbohydrates around all of our training, then all that's going to be happening is you're going to be emptying the carbohydrate tank and then refilling it. And that's a beneficial thing for performance. I mean, it's been seen time and time again, and we've looked at various studies and numerous things. Like I've tried this extensively on myself and seen it in other people. Like having carbohydrates pre-exercise is beneficial for performance. During exercise is beneficial for performance. After exercise is so beneficial for recovery and performance on so many different levels. So I'm not saying that it's bad, but we don't want to be training with a high amount of carbohydrates all the time because it can be damaging. Yeah, but we can be very tactical in the way that we place certain things in terms of our nutrition, so we get the most out of that training session, but we don't damage ourselves at the same time. And that's the real key here. So we can put a ton of effort in, but not really be effective, or actually we can focus on being as precise as possible, being very, very deliberate with our actions because we understand what a certain action translates to. And if we don't, we endeavor to find out. But the thing is, if something is ineffective, you will know because you won't be seeing change. But this is the thing with training, there's lots of variables. It's not just about the output that you put in the session. That's great, but how quickly do you bounce back from that? and what are the things that allow you to bounce back from that training session and construct yourself. It's going to be all the stuff that you do outside of that training session. So the timing is crucial when it comes to our rest and recovery. There's certainly been many times in the past, especially during my military career, where I just put in tons and tons and tons of work, and it just didn't translate to the body composition that I was trying to achieve. I was inflamed, I was sore, I was overweight, and I was just not progressing as much as I could have. Why? I wasn't being specific with my training. I wasn't balancing my training with all the different components. It was more of this mental fortitude, resilience mindset where it's just like, here's a 7-day week. How much can I layer on? And I remember at one point there was this big military program going around. I think it was a 12-month program, and the progressions on it were insane. And there was so many like loaded marches on. So you get a pack on and you run for like 2 miles really quickly, and then you get that off and you do some more running and you do some other stuff. And it's like, wow, it's good for military fitness because obviously you just need to keep taking knocks. But when you look at the people that serve, they're not exactly healthy. But I also see this in the OCR world with Spartan races when people are like, yeah, let's go to the next Spartan race. Let's do this. And then incorporated into that is traveling different time zones and eating airport nutrition and staying in hotels, and then the stress of that on top of the race preparation and the lousy eating on the weekends, and then doing between 1 and 3 intense races. Yet again, it's overworking, it's overtraining, it's overstimulating, it's over stressful. And yeah, that is among the reasons why we don't look, feel, and perform in the way that we want. So we're not saying doing less, we're saying optimize. And that's really the key to success here.
Yeah. So, like touching on what you were saying about carbohydrates, like there was a couple of points I wanted to mention. Then it came on to sort of like especially travel and things like that. So yeah, I mean, obviously carbohydrate intake is very much, yeah, for the performance side is beneficial. However, I've also worked with people who prefer to do fasted training or tend to find it like their energy is better for it. Now, not with necessarily heavier, sort of higher intensity work, but again, this is something that you need to work out. Is this beneficial? And the only way that you'll do that is through testing it. So making sure that we can, just because we'll would say, what works from experience with the people that we've worked with and things, like I'm also sharing that I've worked with people who've actually found that doing fasted or not necessarily carbohydrate loading going into set sessions, it can also work beneficially for them as well. So yeah, take what like the information that we give you and apply it, but at the same time, like test it and see what works best for you because we're all individual and what works for me is not going to work necessarily for everyone else.
Yeah, this is really, really important. And it takes time and a lot of trial and error to really to find this out. I mean, between us and Mitch, we have a wide array of knowledge because we've been doing this years personally ourselves, but then also working with a ton of people over the years, seeing what works for them, what doesn't work for them, and then the other variables that come around this. So it's tried and tested, but what we've seen time and time again, there is no exact blueprint that you come in and we hit the button and that's it, everything's aligned perfectly. Like from my own experience over the years, what I was doing was not working. And then I made a tweak that was actually really, really pivotal for me. And then that improved my metabolism, improved my body composition, increased my energy and therefore my output just by one simple tweak to what I was doing with my training and nutrition. And then the rest was built upon that. I then incorporated that day-to-day approach into training, into sport. And what I found was really for my first year of Spartan racing, my nutritional approach was very, very different. Like what I would do on the week of racing, what I would do in the 3 days leading up to a race, what I would eat for breakfast on that morning, how I would fuel myself during the race. The following year, very, very similar, but I added on some additional things. The third year, still had that decent base, but changed things even more. So it's refinement over time. But what we'd say is like whatever you're doing right now can be optimized further to improve it. Right. So it's never accepting that what I'm doing right now is enough. Even for me, I'm still working out. I'm about to get into potentially another competitive season in the next couple of months. So I'm trying my nutrition now. So this morning, about 4 hours ago, or about 3 hours ago, I had a high amount of carbohydrates coming from like fruits, and then I won't actually fuel during my training session, but then I'll eat more carbohydrates. Whereas a few years ago, I'll do a training session like this fasted. But on odd occasions, I will do other training sessions completely fasted, or maybe I'll just have like a high fat meal before that. And I still do all these things, but it depends on what training session I'm doing. And I really live by a philosophy of train high, train low, eat low. And what I mean by that for me personally in this, don't take this as specific advice, because yet again, it's like, does this work for you as an individual? Maybe. Could it? Yes, no. But each individual is different. And this is why it takes trial and error. And I'm not just gone, hang on a minute, this is where I was 5 years ago, and then click my fingers, I do this train high, train low approach, or train, yeah. But basically what that looks like is, if I'm going to do a high intensity training session, I'm going to eat carbohydrates around that training session. If I'm doing a low intensity training session, I'm going to eat a low amount of carbohydrates around that training session. Or I may do it fasted. But the reason why for this is, yet again, going back to that metabolism, going back to the foundational level. Because if I'm constantly slamming carbohydrates, I mean, we've seen it from various sources, and there's a lot of damaging effects to high intensity training and then eating fucking pure sugar afterwards. Like, we cause cardiovascular damage. Like, our cardiovascular system is made of smooth muscle. So our heart, our arteries, our veins, yeah, they are still muscle. And when our heart beats intensely for a prolonged period at the time, it's like our skeletal muscle. Yeah, you train it, micro tears happen. And exactly the same for our heart and arteries. So when the heart is beating, that muscle is being worked. And because that muscle is contracting hard, it's going to pump more blood volume down the arteries, which is going to stretch them also. And what can happen when we do this for extended periods of time is it can cause lacerations, so really like little cuts on our arteries. And then what happens is, if people have got a poor lifestyle, meaning they stay up late, they expose themselves to blue light, they don't get enough sunlight and vitamin D, they don't have low levels of stress, they don't get good quality sleep, they're not eating the correct nutrition for their body, what happens is these lacerations eventually turn to scar tissue, which over time will reopen and get bigger and bigger and bigger. And we've all heard stories of the seemingly fit marathon runner that drops dead at 40 or 50. And we're like, oh, he's a fit guy. I don't know why he had a heart attack. Overtraining for many years with poor nutrition. And I mean, we can go into the story of like cholesterol, but cholesterol isn't a bad thing. It actually goes to those sites to repair it. But we've been told that cholesterol is a bad thing. It is not a bad thing. It actually transport nutrients to certain areas of our body. And in particular, if there's damage done, it's going to get the nutrients there to repair that site. And then also it will take really waste back to different parts of the body as well. So we just need to be mindful of this. And this is why we're talking about these approaches, because yes, we want to perform and perform maximally, and we can, but we don't want to sacrifice our health in order to do that. And we can have both. And really it is through optimization.
Yeah, to touch a little bit more as well. Not so much on that, but obviously with like training and the intensity, and like I've worked with so many people and they've been making progress. And then they're like, and I feel good about it, and I've got energy, I've got this, and then they're asking, it's like, well, can we slam a load more intensity? And it's like, why? Like, you're making progress, you've got energy, you're enjoying your life, you're doing it in a healthy, sustainable way. So why do you want to then go thrash yourself? And this is all the programming that we've had from years and years of like, more is more. Or like, yeah, if you're not literally sweating your nuts off at the back end of a gym session, then you're not working hard enough. So this is a mindset that we need to switch. And as a result, with people that I've worked with or other people, like, and they're stacking up races week after week, and like, there's a lot of travel involved. I've literally just traveled from Guadalajara to Mexico City, and then I was in a bus all day. Like, they don't let you off the bus, so I've just been sat, and there was people like coughing and like they were pretty like ill. So I've then been in that environment. Then I've gone to like higher altitude, colder weather, and then I've got a couple of days, and then I'm going back to England. So I've got that same repeat process, but for a longer period of time. Now, for me to go and thrash myself at training, my immune system's already a slight bit lower because I've been subject to these pathogens and various other things that are in the air at the moment. So if I'm going to then go thrash myself with loads of training, all I'm going to do is potentially pick up an illness, which is then going to set me back with training. So we need to be really like disciplined and structured in the way that we approach it, so that we don't end up getting ill for a period of time, which could take us out. Yep, sometimes we may be susceptible to it, but we want to try and mitigate that as much as we can. And a lot of it does come down to the training volume, the training structure, the intensity as well. So it's just something to consider. Is like, as soon as we start training, like, our immune system starts to come down a little bit. Okay, it's a natural part of the process because we're actually working. However, if we're not managing it and taking care and fueling ourselves with good sleep, good nutrition, low stress, so the things that we're starting to repeat over and over within this podcast are the key fundamentals, and there's a reason why we keep talking about them. So yeah, it's really important that we consider that alongside your training as well. Okay, see it as part of your training is to rest well, to eat well, and then what you'll notice is you'll make that progress and still have the energy to be able to do that.
This is super, super important. And it's also very, very hard to really apply, because it takes discipline to not do the thing. And it takes trust in by not doing a certain training session. It takes trust and discipline to not do something, because we always think more is better. But often it's not. And I said this on the last podcast, but I speak to a lot of the guys, and I'm like evaluating their training sessions, and I'm never saying you should do more. I even said this to Greg the other day. It's like, when in a training session do I ever tell you to do more? And he looked at me and he was like, never. It's because I fucking don't. I never tell you to do more. I always tell you to optimize. And ultimately, that's the thing that allows us to do more, because it comes from putting in the right work in the right place at the right time at the right dose, and doing that time and time and time again. And I was explaining it to some people at the weekend about repeatable training intervals, whether it's long duration or short duration intervals. A lot of people have a tendency to just go really hot out the gate, and they do exactly this with their training programs as well. Right, I've just committed to the 2 days. I'm going to come hot out the gate and go really, really fast, and then ultimately the wheels start to fall off. So it's like, imagine setting conditions from an optimized place, and then allowing a little bit of adaptation over time, or allow natural progression to happen within that, rather than always looking to squeeze in more. And it's so much more powerful. And one of the things I wrote down here is how many of us wear like a badge of honor with soul crushing workouts. And I certainly used to be that person. But the polar opposite of this now is I don't actually do that. I don't push to the brink of oblivion during my workouts. I've always got something left to give. And I've got some big training sessions on my calendar and the stuff that I've been doing over the past 3 months. But I'm not overdoing it, and I've always got a little bit more to give. And if I do feel like it's taking its toll, which sometimes it can because it's a high training stimulus, I give myself the time and space and grace to bounce back from that effectively. And the way that I've structured my 7-day week, I'm always primed to take on the next big session. And if I'm not, for whatever reason, I move things around. So it's a matter of planning ahead, understanding where you're at and what the intention is for the training session, and then having the discipline to stick to that, and then trusting the process. But I assure you, by doing this, it's far faster than accelerating and then having to back off, accelerating and then having to back off. Like, you keep the consistency. And like I was alluding to with the intervals, really interval 1 wants to be exactly the same pace as interval 10. And I'll give you an example of within my training program at the moment. My last training block is exactly the same as the current training block that I'm on right now. There are no progressions. The progression within the training program is me naturally getting fitter to the same training stimulus with another month of work. So it's not about more, it's about optimizing. And then potentially there might be a time where I change something or add something a little bit more. But yet again, that will be very mindful and very tactical in the way that I do this. And another thing I'll mention on this as well, we're talking a lot about the fundamentals, and Matt mentioned this. It's repeatable training. Is really doing the same thing over and over and over again, many times. But a lot of people like a lot of variety. Well, what I'm saying is, with the approach I've got a lot of variety. I like 6 or 7 different sessions. So there's a lot of variety there. But often for 12 or 16 weeks, there won't be a lot of variety in terms of what I'm trying to achieve during that one. Why? Well, because what we track diligently, appropriately, will improve. If we're doing a little bit over here and then a little bit over here and a little bit over here, or I'm getting bored of this training session, so I'll change that and it often leads to setbacks. It often leads to injuries. Why? Because it's not accounted for. And we've seen it many times. And this is why it's a really beneficial thing to do, is to get like a race review audit, something that we offer, because we can look at this. I've done this to a guy who's literally joined the program recently. He needed more optimization because there was certain things out of whack, and he just wanted some assistance bringing it all in. And that's what we should be doing. We want to optimize. We don't want to be overreaching in a certain area, which is taking away from another area and the development there. And ultimately, if we do get a niggle or injury, it's only going to set us back. So we just encourage you to be mindful of what you do and why you do that, and what you're looking to achieve through that modality of training. And a reminder is, if you want to get to the place that you want to get to, take a progressive and sustainable approach to it, and watch how that compounds over months and years to get where you want to be. And that's another thing. It does take time. And I was saying to some of the guys on a call last week, I was like, if your training sessions are so big that you look at them and they're unappealing, how sustainable is that going to be? Not very. Whereas if you've got minimal effective dose training on there of a set number that you need to hit, which is super achievable, and you feel good at the end of it, how's that going to compound over many months? And how are you going to feel after that? And how are you going to feel when you start making more progress? And this is the important thing. And I've got a race coming up in about 6 weeks. And this is, well, it'll be a 16-week training block by the time, 16, 17-week training block by the time I get to that. So we'll see, once I do this race, how minimal effective dose training translates to a 5K race. And I'll share all the details on what I do. And you'll see the results. So yes, I'm doing a lot of training, but it's all accounted for and I'm feeling good for it. But there's lots of dynamic components of it as well. I'm covering all of the angles that nourish my body and not break it down. Yeah, because I also care about my health. Anything else to add, Matt? I think you're on mute.
My bad. Yeah, so what you were touching on with kind of like minimal effective dose, but doing like the specific at the right intensity is like, if you're seeing those marginal gains, like that's going to compound over years and years. And what we're looking for is long term health. So, you know, being able to do what we love for as long as we can. Like, if you're thrashing yourself over and over, well, that's less likely to happen. Like we've already touched on this in previous podcasts, and within the community, it's something that we really look at with intent. It's like, okay, how can we optimize? How can we perform? But how can we actually live a long, healthy life? So yeah, like progressive overload, nice and gentle. Like a lot of people will literally just want to get that instant result, that gratification, that great body, and then that's it. It's like, what happens after that? It's like that word that you absolutely detest, maintenance. Well, you don't want to be maintaining. You want to be growing. You want to be pushing. And the only way you can do that is if something is sustainable for the long term.
This is it. So set conditions now. How you mean to go on? And if every workout is an absolute push, an absolute grizz, and you're just getting through it, and then you're feeling annihilated afterwards, it's not sustainable. And a lot of us can chase the feel good factor after training, but we don't want to beat ourselves up, and we don't need to beat ourselves up. Like the constant feedback we get from our team is like, I I mean, you can give examples as well, but in other words, it's like, I am doing the least amount of training that I've ever done, feeling the best that I ever have, and getting more results than I ever have. Oh, and in less time. So it's just like, all right, but hang on a minute. Well, this 6-week program says that I can achieve X by this amount of time using this methodology. It's like, great. You're going to hammer yourself for 6 weeks. You're going to feel like shit. You're not going to learn anything in the process. And then you're going to rebound because you're probably going to get a niggle or injury, or you're burned out and there's no sustainability in it. So, yeah, please, I just encourage you, if you're listening to this or you know someone that is overtraining, yeah, send them this podcast or urge them to balance the stress of life and training with self-love, self-care, to minimize that stress, because a lot of the inputs that we have, near enough all of them, are a stressor in some way, shape, or form. And if there's too much stress, it's going to impair the body's ability to recover. And that's because of the nervous system. And it's some of the things we look at. We're not looking at like musculoskeletal recovery and joint recovery. We're also looking at nervous system recovery. We're also looking at the mentality behind that. Is there too much mental load? Is there decision fatigue? So we're not asking you to do more here. We're asking you to optimize to achieve more over the long term through daily consistent actions with the right work in the right place. But also that comes with discipline as well. But a question I'll pose is like, why wouldn't you want to feel better, look better, have more energy, perform better in less time and over the long term with an optimized approach?
And have more time for family, friends, social, cooking, eating. Well, yeah. Again, that's one of the offsets with like a lot of endurance training and things like that. It's long hours. Like, yeah, if you want to be elite level, like you have to like do the longer training, like to be able to get to that to a set to a certain degree, but it's the appropriate amount. So I'm not like trying to do literally the last 5, 10 minutes of what we've been talking about. It's doing like what it is that you are specifically training for. Okay. So if you've got a 100-mile race, you have to get time on your feet. There's no ifs, buts, or maybes. But for a lot of people who are doing sort of like the 5, 10, 21 kilometer races, yeah, especially that's going to be higher intensity in the overall, like for you when you're actually doing that race. Whereas 100-mile, yeah, it's going to be a lot of walking, etc. Okay, so that's not me undoing everything that we've been talking about. It's saying like if you want to achieve and do well within certain events, then yeah, there will be a lot more training, but it's still doing it in a way where you have the energy, you're not broken, you can still commit to the Sunday night date night with the wife or whatever it is. Okay, so
Mm.
or partner.
Mm. And like we've spoken about as well, it's like you're doing these things to enhance your life and to fill your cup up and to give you more energy. If it's not, and it's taking time away from other aspects of life and taking your energy on top of that, you got to ask yourself why you're doing it. I'll give you some context. So I'm training for a 5K race, which is my priority race. I've really wanted to improve my running and speed, which is coming along beautifully, with minimal effective dose training and going to the amount of time I'm doing for like the main session of each component each day. But beyond that, what I'm going to do is some Spartan races, but I've only got like 5 Spartan races booked in. And out of those, there's probably only 2 priority races. So that's another part of it, big picture. It's minimal effective dose in terms of training to maximize training in that particular day, week, month training cycle. But then also, if you're committing to 10 plus races a year, some ridiculous amounts, 20 plus, you're hammering your body, because more than likely, if you're doing that, you're having to take a lot of time off training because you have to do that in order to compensate for the races you're doing, or you're training all the way up to those races, then doing those races, then not taking a lot of time off. And it's just this repeated self battery, which looks good on paper. And it's like, yeah, I got another trifecta patch. I got another this. Great. So you're sacrificing your health for a bit of paper or a shiny medal. It's not cool in my eyes. I've done it many times. Anyway, going back into my own training, just to give you context for doing races up to beast distance on Mondays, I train for 30 minutes in the main set. So the working set is 30 minutes long. Tuesdays, an easier session, 45 minutes. Wednesdays, 30 minutes. Thursdays, under 45 minutes for my strength training. Friday, 15 minutes, potentially maximum for the working set. More than likely 9 to 12 minutes of the working set. Saturdays, my longest session, 90 minutes long run, and then an OCR session after it. So at no point are my training sessions extending over 2 hours at present with my current training cycle. I know a lot of people that spend more than 2 hours lifting weights in the gym. I don't know how productive they are personally. When I look around the gym, a lot of people are lifting and then waiting, but still that accumulates fatigue, mental fatigue, physical fatigue, just by being in that environment. And also, it's not that productive. Like, do you want to spend 2 hours training, or do you want to spend maybe 20 or 30 minutes training, getting a lot more bang for your buck? So this is what we're saying. We're not saying do less. We're saying more optimization. We're not saying more training. Yeah, we're sharing from a lot of years of personal experience and a lot of years of coaching experience. Yeah, so that's the way it is. We genuinely want more for people, and it really is frustrating because I can see people's potential, but there is self-sabotage by overcommitting and overtraining when actually you could do so much better through optimization. So in this case, it's actually having the discipline to not choose more, not to add more, but to actually look at what you're doing, look at it and be bold enough to take some action, to say no to certain things, to actually give you so much more in numerous other areas. Cool. Is there anything else to add, Matt, that you feel like we've not necessarily covered on this?
No, I think that's a pretty good place to end it. It's like, yeah, just maximizing your training so that you can ultimately live a healthier, happier life. And yeah, like not just for you, but for your loved ones as well. Like if you're constantly beat up, tired, and you're going to be moaning about it, or again, you're going to bring the energy down of the people you're with. So it's like, yeah, train effectively, enjoy it, because again, it's medicine, like it's natural medicine. So yeah, that is important, and it's a fundamental, it's a non-negotiable. However, there's other things beyond the training as well. You know, the lives that we have, and for me to live my life the way that I want to, there's absolutely no way that I can spend hours and hours in the gym. But then I also cross train a lot as well. So, okay, I'm supposed to go for a run today. Well, actually, I'm just going to go and explore somewhere for longer. So, yeah, we don't necessarily need to hit every single session that's prescribed or planned, but we want to show up with consistency as well. So, yeah, but the main thing is find your training enjoyable. If you're not, then you're not going to stick to it.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, good stuff. All right, man. I think we'll wrap it up there. Yeah, I don't want to seem like this is a lecture for the listeners. It comes from a passionate place about like what we do, and yeah, I was pissed off and frustrated for years within my own training. Like it just seemed like no matter what I was doing, I just couldn't create the change that I wanted or needed in my life, and it fucking bugged me. But in hindsight, it's put me in the place that I am today. Yeah, I remember a point I couldn't even do monkey bars. I genuinely couldn't even do monkey bars. My grip was that atrocious. Okay, so see the current situation as an opportunity to optimize and improve and be better here, now, and for the long term, and to take a lot of people with you as well and have some fun, like Matt said. Yeah, OCR is an incredibly fun sport. Might suck at times when you're pushing for that finish line in the last kilometer and you miss the spear and you do burpees, but there's always a smile at the finish line in some way, shape, or form. So yeah, make sure we're using all of these tools, all of these resources to construct ourselves and the lives that we want to create for ourselves and others. And yeah, if you've got any questions, need any support, then yeah, drop us a line. There'll be a link below this as well to book a race review audit with myself if you want to talk about training. It's just an evaluation. And yeah, we can help you out. Also, we've got the OCR school as well. So by joining that, you can get access to the race review audit. It's a good community of individuals looking to improve themselves as well. So yeah, hope you took some value, and wishing you a beautiful day and beautiful week and success with your training. And we'll catch you soon.
Cheers. Take care, everyone. Enjoy.
See you later, Matt. Bye-bye.
Thanks for your time. Cheers. Bye.
That is it for today's episode of the Obstacle Dominator podcast. Thank you for listening. If you've gained value from this episode or any others, all we simply ask is you share that with one other person. This one simple share could be the breakthrough that they need to get unstuck and start making progress again, and support more athletes to become healthier, happier, stronger, and faster human beings. If you feel called, please leave a review, tap the stars, give us a rating, head over to YouTube and subscribe, or just simply follow the show. These simple action steps go such a long way in helping us reach more athletes over time, and would love for you to be part of that. Proximity is power. If you are an athlete that's ready to take your performance up a level, then join us over on the OCR School. This is a community where you can surround yourself with the right people as you learn and as you rise. Learn from athletes who are not just talking the talk, but walking the walk, getting results, body and mind. Everyone from first-time finishers to podium winners and champions. Until next time, keep training hard, keep living prepared, keep dominating the obstacles in life and in competition.